Hello everyone, Gotcha Spark here. So with update version 4.5 being halfway done, let's cover the finalized info of Arlecchino, the 11th Fatui Harbinger, full kit, and possible team comp and weapons. So starting off with the basics, her normal attack, which has an awesome name in my opinion, and it's called Invitation to a Beheading. This attack will perform a maximum of 6 consecutive strikes, while the charge attack, if you hold it, will cause Arlecchino to consume stamina and engage in up to 3 seconds of high-speed movement, which causes her to hover using a flaming wing. Before we jump into the final part of her basic attacks, we should first learn of her unique passive ability called Bond of Life, which is gained through the ability of her E skill called All is Ash from the blood that it applies. Since this ties into her basic attacks, this skill summons forth Bell Moon Blood Flame, dealing pyro damage to multiple nearby opponents and performing a dash cleave against one of them, dealing AoE pyro damage. Opponents hit by the attack will have Blood Dad applied to them. The effect of Blood Dad lasts 30 seconds. Every 5 seconds it will deal 1 instance of pyro damage to the opponent, max 2 instances. This damage will be considered elemental skill damage. When Arlecchino uses a charge attack, or Bell Moon Rising, she will absorb and clear nearby Blood Dad. Each Blood Dad absorbed grants her Bond of Life for 40% of her max HP. The maximum value of the Bond of Life she can be granted through Blood Dad within 35 seconds after using her elemental skill is 80% of her max HP. Using the elemental skill again during this duration will restart the count on duration and the limit on the value of Bond of Life she may gain from Blood Dad. So now knowing the info on how her Blood Dad and Bond of Life work, let's go back over the last part of her basic attack, Invitation to a Beheading. So for the final part of this attack, when Arlecchino has a Bond of Life equal to or greater than 20% of her max HP, she will enter the Red Death state, where her normal, charge, and plunge attacks will be converted to deal pyro damage. This cannot be overridden. Also, her attack range will be extended with this effect. When in the Red Death state, Arlecchino normal attacks will deal extra damage to opponents on hit that skills off her attack, multiplied by a certain ratio of her current Blood of Life percentage. This will consume 6.5% of said current Bond of Life. Her Bond of Life can be consumed this way every 0.05 seconds. When her Bond of Life is consumed in this manner, All is Ash cooldown will decrease by 0.8 seconds. With this info, it seems like Arlecchino will heavily be playing around the Blood Dad buff that gives her Bond of Life to enhance her basic attacks and shorten the cooldown of her E skill, which seems very interesting. But now let's jump into her burst, which is Bell Moon Rising. So Arlecchino burst deals AoE pyro damage before clearing the cooldown of All is Ash and healing her. The healing is based on her Bond of Life value and attack, and there's a passive that she has that ties into the ult, and it's called Sinners Alone Shall Nourish. So while in combat, Arlecchino gains 40% pyro damage bonus and can only be healed through Bell Moon Rising. With this effect, this will be interesting for team building since healers seem like they will be useless since Arlecchino can't receive the healing, so maybe shielders like Zhongli will be better for her team. For the next passive, it's called Agony Alone May Be Repaid. This passive ties into the Blood Dad mechanic, and the effects are when defeating an opponent with a Dad, Arlecchino will be granted a Bond of Life worth 70% of her max HP. 5 seconds after a Dad is applied, it will be upgraded to a Blood Dad Dew. When absorbed, it will instead grant Arlecchino a Bond of Life worth 70%. A Bond of Life created in the aforementioned ways cannot exceed the original limit on the value of Bond of Life attained through All is Ash. Now for her last passive, Strength Alone Can Defend, Arlecchino gains 1% all elemental and physical resist for every 100 attacks she has in excess of 1,000. The maximum res increase she can gain this way for each is 20%. So now that covers everything about Arlecchino's base kit, but before going over the Constellations, let's jump into what characters may best synergize with her and weapons. So the characters I believe may work the best with Arlecchino is Zhongli, since he is the best shooter in the game, but if you don't have him, then maybe Deona may be a good substitute. Sadly, I don't think Toma or Noelle would be a great shooters, since Toma may steal the bait reactions from Arlecchino and Noelle has too long of a cooldown. Next, Bennett is the second character that will be best paired with her, since he can provide a massive boost to attack with his burst, and Arlecchino scales massively from attack, so she can gain a huge value from having Bennett as a teammate. And for the final character, I believe Yelan is the best choice, since her ult to apply Hydro is almost unrivaled. But if you don't have Yelan, then Xingqiu will be the next best option to get good bait reactions. Lastly, if you're fine not using a shooter, then you can try using Kazuha or Sucrose if you want, or you can try to use Xingling for extra pyro damage bonus she applies. Now on to weapons. So I believe that these weapons hold a lot of value for Arlecchino if you aren't planning to wish for her signature weapon. The first weapon is a 5-star weapon if you happen to have it, and it's called Calamity Quiller. This weapon effect is gain 12% all element damage bonus, obtain consummation for 20 seconds after using an elemental skill, causing attack to increase by 3.2% per second. This attack increase can stack 6 times. When a character equipped with this weapon is not on the field, consummation attack increase is double. The next weapon is Primordial Jade Winged Spear. This weapon on hit increased attack by 3.2% for 6 seconds, max 7 stacks. This effect can occur once every 0.3 seconds. While in possession of the maximum possible stack, damage dealt is increased by 12%. Next, the rest of the weapons are 4-star weapons, and the first one is Deathmatch. This weapon effect is if there are at least 2 enemies nearby, attack increased by 16% and defense by 60%. If there are less than 2 enemies nearby, attack is increased by 24%. Now the next weapon is Dragon's Bane. This weapon increased damage against enemies affected by Hydro or Pyro by 20%. And lastly, the final weapon, Midsif Wind Spear, is a very old event weapon, but if you happen to have it, then this could be a good option to use. So the effect is, within 10 seconds after an elemental reaction is triggered, attack is increased by 12%, and elemental mastery is increased by 48%. These all seem like pretty solid weapons to me to use for Arlecchino, since they provide a pretty good boost to her attack, which she scales massively from. But lastly, before moving on to the Constellations, Arlecchino will be getting a whole new artifact set that is fully designed for her, and will play around her Bond of Life effect. And the effect is, the 2-piece will provide 18% more attack, while the 4-piece increased damage dealt by 18% when the value of Bond of Life contract is increased or decreased for 6 seconds. The effect can be stacked up to 3 times. It is unknown if the effect can be triggered when the character is off the field. This will most likely be her Biz artifact set, but this set will be arriving in the same update as Arlecchino, which is update version 4.6. So now with all that covered, let's jump into a quick read through of her constellations so you can decide if you're going for C1 to C6. It is worth your gems, starting off with her C1. I may say some of these words wrong, but all reprisals and arrears are mine to bear. Red Death is further enhanced. The value of the increase is 120%. Additionally, interruption resistance is increased when she performs normal attacks while affected by the Red Death. Next is all rewards and retribution, mine to bestow. Blood Debt are now already enhanced to Blood Debt Due. When first applied, when Arlecchino absorbs such a due, she unleashes Bell Moon Blood Flame in front of her, dealing 900% of her attack as AoE power damage. This effect can trigger once every 10 seconds. You must first unlock the passive talent Agony Alone May Be Repaid. The third constellation, you shall become a new member of our family. It just adds 3 levels to the basic attack, Invitation to a Beheading. which I think this is the first constellation to add levels to the base attack. I could be wrong though, let me know in the comments below. Next constellation, you should love and protect each other henceforth. When Arlecchino successfully absorbs a blood debt, Pale Moon Rising cooldown will decrease by 2 seconds and 15 energy will be restored to her. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. The 5th constellation, for Alone We Are As Good As Dead, adds 3 levels to Pale Moon Rising, which is the ultimate. Lastly, the final constellation, from this day on, we shall delight in a new life together. Effect is the damage of Pale Moon Rising is increased by Arlecchino's attack multiplier by 700% of Arlecchino's current life of bomb percentage for 20 seconds. After Arlecchino uses all his Ash, both her normal attacks and elemental bursts gain 10% increased crit rate and 70% increased crit damage. This effect can be triggered up to once every 15 seconds. And so that covers everything about Arlecchino's kit, team, weapons, and artifact set. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to help this channel grow. It will greatly be appreciated. Comment below your thoughts on Arlecchino's kit. What do you think of the Bond of Life mechanic? And comment any info I may have missed on great characters that pair well with her and weapons. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you are excited for Arlecchino and have yet to fully prepare for her arrival, then please check out my video on screen now about preparing for the Knave arrival. And with that, thanks for watching.